Unlike most Almach, whose first contact with humans occurred in the hallowed halls of Taga, or the ancient libraries of her previous capital, mine came under far less auspicious circumstances. Captain Nuhu, a figure of impeccable posture and unwavering gaze, had summoned me to the bridge of the Star Seeker, accusing me of neglecting my maintenance duties. Apparently, nonsensical sensor readings were the sole evidence of my supposed transgression. The bridge, an expansive oval chamber, was a busy place. Navigators, arms station operators, even the usually loud comms crew all fell silent as I entered. Their eyes followed me as I approached Captain Nuhu, who stood beside the elevated captain's seat. Nuhu exuded authority. His outer shell gleamed, his posture rigid, his stare unwavering. Even in silence, he commanded respect. The bridge mirrored his demeanor, efficient, orderly, yet laced with a subtle fear of his occasional and sometimes justified outbursts. As I neared him, I maintained my composure, confident in my adherence to protocol. Blaming the data analysis team before Nuhu's inevitable reprimand was tempting, but I held firm under his scrutiny. "Explain this," Nuhu boomed, a holographic display crackling to life before him. A jumble of data flooded the screen, overwhelming at first glance. The central section depicted a reconstructed image, a perfect sphere of polished metal, its reflective surface radiating an unsettling aura as if forged from a single block. This unidentified object, according to the report, had appeared moments before the end of my shift, while I was blissfully unaware in my quarters. The remaining data offered little clarity. The magnetic and gravitational readings indicated the sphere materialized and vanished without a trace, leaving no signature of a warp drive or hyperspace travel. "The sphere appeared and disappeared without a trace," I recited, summarizing the data to the best of my ability. Nahu's voice echoed, exuding frustration. "Tell me something I don't know. Explain the lack of any warp or hyperspace signature." Ignoring the curious gazes of the crew, I scanned the data again, searching for something to support my innocence. A flicker of hope emerged from the gravitational readings. "The sensors are operational, Captain. This section here shows a gravitational pull coinciding with the sphere's appearance. The sensors function properly." How foolish I was. How could I have uttered those words without grasping their full implication? Nahu's voice cut through my naivety. "So you're suggesting an undetected, instantaneous arrival is more likely than a malfunction?" The challenge hung heavy in the air. Panic increased as I felt the weight of countless eyes. My gaze darted back to the data display, hoping for a hint of error, but it offered no salvation. Just as despair threatened my sanity, a blinding flash of purple light filled the bridge. When my vision cleared, a sight unlike anything I'd ever encountered materialized before us. A bipedal being, easily taller than Captain Nahu, stood confidently between us. Its sleek, dark gray exterior, devoid of visible joints, resembled an exoskeleton or perhaps a sophisticated suit. It turned its head, revealing two soft-looking eyes within a wet, mobile face. Before we could fully comprehend this unexpected visitor, it spoke in our own language. "Greetings, beautiful insectoid beings from this amazing galaxy," the creature boomed. "We are aware of your designations, both for yourselves and your stellar home. However, introductions are a cherished custom among our kind. Let's not skip ahead. We come in peace, seeking knowledge and offering the same in return. So please, no weapons, or we shall be forced to depart and return when a calmer reception awaits." Unlike most Almach, whose relationship with humans was one of one-sided learning, my encounters with these intergalactic beings weren't just about learning from them. Instead, it was a mutual exchange of knowledge. We discussed the very fabric of our universe, each sharing our perspectives on its governing rules. This exchange only occurred after Captain Nahu's hostile reaction to the human's surprise appearance on the bridge. The situation escalated, forcing the human to retreat under the threat of weapon fire. Captain Nahoo, desperate to return home as quickly as possible, ordered an emergency lightspeed jump, pushing the Starseeker beyond its safe limits. Confined to my cramped quarters, anxiety gnawed at me. Every physics lesson I'd ever endured replayed in my mind. Suddenly, a blinding purple light engulfed my cabin. I startled, and I whirled around to find the human intruder staring back with those unsettling, moist eyes. Forget the cramped space. Forget the shield straining at maximum capacity. Forget the impossible speed as we hurtled through space. The human was simply there, defying all logic. "We've been observing your vessel for days, Vikan." He spoke directly to me. Fear sent a jolt through me, turning my eyes frantic as I searched for a weapon to hurl at this enigmatic being. "No harm is intended, Vikan," his voice soothed, a stark contrast to the turmoil brewing within me. "We seek only knowledge." How could he expect calm amidst the impossible? One thing the human did well, he remained motionless and silent after his initial explanation, allowing my panic to simmer down, replaced by burgeoning curiosity. Just as I was about to reciprocate, the unimaginable happened again. "It seems my time is short," he echoed before his disappearance. "But fear not, I'll be back." The human's form pulsed with a purple glow, then vanished completely. He was gone. I stood there, transfixed, staring at the empty spot. Reaching out, I cautiously probed the space with my manipulators, searching for any sign of trickery or illusion. Time stretched into an eternity as I paced the confines of my cabin. Should I report the encounter to Captain Nahoo? The memory of the bridge erupting in chaos doused that thought. Reporting it then felt futile. Captain Nahoo stubbornly dismissed the bridge incident as a trick, ordering the crew to forget it. Suddenly, the blinding purple light flared again. This time, I avoided eye contact, blurting out my question. "What could a powerful being like you possibly gain from interacting with us?" "Think of me as David," he chuckled, revealing teeth. "My translator struggles with names. It seems our interspecies communication isn't perfect yet." He didn't directly address my question, and I mistakenly thought my inquiry had angered him. Instead, David sighed. "Back to the silent treatment, Veckan. I thought we were getting somewhere. To answer your question, we're fascinated by your technology, your shields and FTL drives. We've been chasing this secret for centuries, but even our most advanced AIs can't crack the code on building ships like yours." Humans from another galaxy, interested in our tech? A wave of disbelief washed over me. It felt like these powerful beings were toying with me. Anger simmered within me, forcing me to lapse into a long silence, anything to avoid blurting out something that could endanger my species. In hindsight, it's easy to judge my past self. Back then, I lacked the knowledge I possess now. Playing along with these seemingly godlike beings wasn't foolishness, but self-preservation. Fear kept my tongue in check, lest I say something that triggered our destruction. "But why build ships like ours?" I finally dared to ask, oblivious to the significance of my question, "when you can already travel to other galaxies?" David shook his head, a gesture I now understand as resignation. "There's little point in interstellar travel," he explained. "If the universe is just going to send you back home minutes later, with no trace of your journey, even the objects we carry will be returned." A spark of understanding ignited within me as David vanished once more, enveloped in that familiar purple glow. He returned to his own galaxy as if his visit to our ship had never happened. It was a profound moment. David's absence, however, proved far more pivotal than his presence. Alone in my cabin, a storm of ideas brewed in my mind. Perhaps it's just my advanced age talking, or an inflated sense of self-importance, but during that crucial period, the seeds of our civilization's recent advancements were sown. Ignoring modesty for a moment, it was during the solitary confinement that the truth dawned on me. The humans might be willing to trade their intergalactic travel secrets for the underlying principles of conventional faster-than-light travel. Additionally, the fear gripping the crew presented an opportunity to end my servitude under Captain Nahoo. Fueled by anxiety, I laid the groundwork for a plan riddled with uncertainties and assumptions. By the time I'd steeled myself for the challenges ahead, an ocean of curiosity and anticipation simmered within me as I waited David's return. The cabin pulsed with purple light once again. This time, I wasted no time. Before my vision adjusted, I blurted out, "Tell me everything about how your species travels beyond galaxies." David chuckled. "There goes my elaborate speech about mutual knowledge exchange. You all mocks are such buzzkills." "Isn't your time here limited?" I pressed, eager to understand the true cost of intergalactic travel. "Not exactly," he shrugged. "It's just a pain in the... well, you would understand. Here, let me show you." With a tap to his head, David vanished in a flash, only to reappear moments later with a familiar flash of light. In his hand, a peculiar transparent bottle. "Nothing beats an intergalactic water bottle," he declared, his visor popping open. He proceeded to guzzle the water with loud slurps, effectively shattering any remaining air of mystique. I watched in disbelief as the last drop of water disappeared into David's gullet. How could an advanced being, capable of traversing galaxies, be so thirsty? Did intergalactic travel remove the fluids from his body? "Don't worry," David said, tossing the crumpled bottle on the floor like a discarded spacesuit. "It'll be waiting for me back in my own galaxy when I poof." I ignored his flippant response, my scientific mind burning for answers. "All right, David," I pressed. "Enough with the water break. Tell me, can you elaborate on this intergalactic travel of yours?" He leaned back, a hint of amusement on his voice. "Well, reckon I can explain the basic idea, but the fancy hardware that makes it all work, that's part of a potential technology exchange, wouldn't you say?" I blinked. Here he was, spilling the beans on this groundbreaking technology, seemingly unconcerned that we just built it ourselves. If I knew then what I know now, I might have facepalmed so hard I'd leave a permanent dent in the wall. "How do you navigate such vast distances so quickly?" I pressed, excitement bubbling over. "Simple, really," David said, snapping his fingers. "We just shove enough energy into a subatomic space until the whole universe throws a tantrum and physics goes on vacation." My jaw dropped. Laws of physics? On vacation? Did this guy skip all his basic space science classes? "Breaking the laws of physics?" I stammered. "Laws exist because they can't be broken. Otherwise, wouldn't that mean they weren't really laws in the first place?" "Well, things break when you exceed their limits," David said. "The universe is no different." "Limit? Wouldn't the concentration of energy into a small point just create a black hole?" David chuckled, a sound suspiciously like a malfunctioning engine. "Oh, we thought that too back in the day. Turns out black holes aren't that big of a deal. You just cram a whole lot of energy into a super tiny space and voila, instant black hole." Easy for him to say. This was my first brush with the human tendency to downplay complex scientific concepts with not as funny as they think wordplay. But back then, I was too naive to recognize the red flags. "But why do you need black holes to travel to another galaxy?" I countered, suspicion creeping in. "Mass and energy are the same, right? You concentrate a huge amount in a small space, and boom, you have nothing but a common black hole." David waved his hand dismissively. "Black holes, been there, done that. They're kind of the gateway drug of intergalactic travel. But if you keep shoving more and more energy into an even tinier space, and if you do it fast enough, something else happens entirely." "Something else?" I echoed, intrigued despite myself. He grinned, revealing a row of teeth that looked suspiciously designed for gnawing on particularly stubborn space rocks. "Imagine a point in space where the very fabric of reality rips apart. We call it the weird zone. Think of a black hole as a cosmic pimple, and the weird zone is a full-blown tear in the fabric. That's why it keeps disappearing and reappearing. The universe heals itself over time, and causality kicks back in. You remembering me proves that the wound leaves a scar." The purple light swallowed David whole, and with him went the crumpled water bottle, his only parting gift beyond the memory of his brief stay. What was a pimple in space? What was a scar in the universe? These questions and a dozen others whirled in my mind. Thankfully, David wasn't a one-shot visitor. Over the remaining return journey, as the Star Seeker hurtled back towards Almach space with a desperate Captain Nahoo at the helm, David made several return trips. Each time, he'd answer some questions, then vanish with another swig from his seemingly endless intergalactic water bottles, which also vanished with him. With each visit, a seed of hope bloomed within me. This strange human, David, held the key to a knowledge exchange that could propel Almach civilization forward, but convincing my people wouldn't be easy. It meant bypassing Captain Nahoo, the flustered leader who dismissed the entire incident as a hallucination. However, I had an advantage. I was the one who had been closest to David during his first public appearance. That fact, I knew, would be my ticket to a higher authority. It was time to gamble on the potential of this intergalactic counter and take the chance on the future of the Almach. Unlike most Almach, who build friendships with humans only after enduring many cycles of awkward interactions, mine blossomed surprisingly fast. While many remain unsettled by the human's watery eyes and casual demeanor, I learned to tolerate David's goofiness, and he in return respected my seriousness from the get-go. Perhaps it was this unlikely camaraderie that propelled our species' advancements during my lifetime. If Captain Nahoo had his way, it wasn't war that would happen, as some insist on claiming. Instead, the humans might have simply focused on more compatible species, leaving our tiny galaxy unburdened by their attention. The metallic door separating Captain Nahoo and me from Governor Aville's office loomed large, its intricate engravings and prominent seal radiating the authority of an elected leader. "Leave out the creature speaking our language, and I'll consider overlooking your negligence," Captain Nahoo said, breaking our tense silence. It was the first time he acknowledged me since banishing me to my quarters. I held my tongue, perhaps fueling Captain Nahoo's illusion that I agreed. In hindsight, I understand his struggle, attempting to explain the inexplicable. But youth clouded my judgment, preventing me from seeing his burden while I still held a grudge for being accused of neglecting my duties. The door hissed open, revealing the office's sleek metallic walls. Governor Aville sat at the solitary desk, a holographic display humming with data, likely the report filled out by the crew while Captain Nahoo and I welcomed our planetary landing. Governor Aville turned his gaze at Captain Nahoo. A sphere appearing out of nowhere. A bizarre creature materializing on the bridge, then you personally scaring it away before raising the shields? If that doesn't warrant abandoning your mission and returning home, I don't know what does. "Governor," Captain Nahoo boomed, his voice laced with forced authority, "we have verified data to support our claims. Technician Veckin here can attest to the functionality of the sensors. The creature's presence was so unsettling that rumors of it speaking our language have surfaced among the crew." Governor Aville's gaze flicked to me. "Veckin," he addressed me directly, "the report mentions fully operational sensors. Can you confirm this?" My stomach churned. A glance at Captain Nahoo confirmed his awareness of the irony of the situation. "Yes, Governor," I said. "The sensors were recently replaced and tested under my supervision. There was no way they malfunctioned." Relief flickered across Nahoo's face. A silent pressure released. "Captain," the governor continued, his voice low and contemplative, "assuming the report is accurate, what course of action do you propose to prevent a similar incident?" Nahoo puffed out his chest. "Every captain and crew across the fleet should be authorized to engage on sight and raise shields against any unidentified anomaly." Disbelief clawed at me. This wasn't about just protecting my burgeoning friendship with David. A being capable of interstellar travel and interspecies communication appeared on our bridge, offering knowledge, and Nahoo's solution was to shoot first and ask questions never? What if this human got tired of being shot at? What if next time it wasn't a talking creature, but a bomb that appeared out of the void? The shield wouldn't protect us. Nahoo's lie festered within me, a pressure building behind my forced compliance. Finally, it burst forth. "He's lying!" I blurted out, my voice surprisingly steady. The creature, it called itself a human, claimed to be from another galaxy and proposed an exchange of knowledge. The air crackled with tension as both Governor Avil and Captain Nahoo glared at me. In that moment, I felt like I was about to be jettisoned into the void, even though the office was on our planet, lacking any windows. Fear gets the best of young minds, Governor. Captain Nahoo dismissively chimed in. They haven't seen the horrors of real space combat. Accusing your superior is a serious offense, Veckin. Governor Avil said, his voice betraying a hint of concern. While a being offering knowledge from another galaxy is worrying, a crew paralyzed by fear is a far greater concern. It wasn't youthful courage fueling my next move, but the tiny device clutched in my manipulators. The governor wasn't a bad leader, I conceded. In his shoes, I might have done the same thing. Still, it stung to be treated like a scared child. The human, I blurted, determined to be heard, offered us intergalactic travel technology in exchange for our shields and warp drives. The pressure in the room intensified, muddling my words. He said black holes are like pimples on human skin, and the weird zone is like a scar that leaves. My fumbled explanation earned me bewildered stares, more befitting a visit from a medical droid than a disciplinary correction. It was then I knew I needed an expert. With trembling manipulators, I activated the device. Its weight vanished as a sliver of purple light flickered between my appendages. My heart hammered against my ribs, dreading David's absence. But a blinding flash of purple banished those fears. Greetings, beautiful insectoid beings from this amazing galaxy, David boomed, his voice the same as in his first entrance. We are aware of your designations, both for yourselves and your stellar home. However, introductions are a cherished custom among our kind. Let's not skip ahead. And Captain Nahoo, he chuckled, you look remarkably like a cockroach I saw in a picture. By any chance, is that your mother? He brandished a photo for emphasis. Needless to say, the following conversation in the governor's office wasn't a friendly exchange. However, Avil witnessing David firsthand undeniably tilted the scales in favor of a technology exchange. The repercussions of that meeting were immense. Within a year, leaders from both species hammered out a deal. As for me, I landed a coveted position, helping build the machine that would build another machine that would ultimately construct the component that would finally grant my species a taste of intergalactic travel. My entire youth, and then some, blurred into a frenzy of construction. The final product, while operational, paled in comparison to the prototype the humans had made. But for the Almach, it ushered in an era of prosperity seen for centuries. For me, however, the late nights were spent deciphering the audacious shortcuts and untested assumptions woven into the human design. That's when I truly grasped why, for them, the laws of physics were more like, well, suggestions.